So, can you clarify that a couple things? Because you went
Sure.
with, you've done all the right things. Like, first of all, your
Okay.
diagnosis is not a mystery. Your diagnosis is you have SIBO,
Mhm.
right? Because you have lab tests that show
Yeah.
methane hydrogen and you respond to the FODMAP diet.
Definitely a little bit, for sure.
A little bit, like you said low FODMAP diet. I don't know. Does that mean you weren't really strict with it, or what?
No, I was. I've done it 3 times. In the first and last 2 times, I did not do any antimicrobials, and I didn't really notice a difference.
So you had to take the antimicrobial.
Yeah, the one time I did, it helped with the bloating quite a bit, but I still had other symptoms. Like, they weren't totally gone.
Okay. Were there certain antimicrobials you took that made a difference?
It was like Candibactin, both those, and what's the little pellets? Lauricidin.
Okay.
I don't know if it mattered or not.
Okay. And right. So, anyways, you were strict with it. Did it?
Yeah.
But it didn't resolve all your symptoms.
Mm-mm.
Never.
No.
Okay. So no matter what you eat,
Yeah, it does not matter.
doesn't make any difference.
I mean, I think in terms of my stomach issues.
Yeah, your stomach discomfort. Like,
Yeah.
And the main thing is burning or bloating. All together.
It's a combination of bloating most of the time, any time of the day really, and just the general like discomfort. I think it's probably like a gnawing type pain, burning,
Okay.
and then I often get like it gets kind of tense and not very good digestion with food.
So Toby, tell me what would happen if I gave you like a big salad to eat with lots of fiber and starch. Would that be different than if I gave you a steak?
I've been, I follow some of your stuff, so I kind of know about some of that stuff, and it doesn't seem like it really matters. No, it's meats, carbs.
So if you just had pure meat, like, would it make a difference? If you just had just like have you ever had just a piece of meat, nothing else on it?
It's probably slightly better than.
Slightly better.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely. I would, if I had to answer, I'd say the vegetables are the more difficult part.
More difficult one.
Yeah.
But if you were only eating, let's say, a carnivore diet,
Yeah.
you would still have symptoms.
I think so.
Okay.
But I don't know. I've never really tried it.
Never
And
tried.
the main reason I don't, so I tried keto once, and my energy was great. My brain fog was really good, which has always been a problem. But it only lasted for like a month or 2. And then, then the doctor I was seeing told me to introduce carbs, and then I felt a lot better.
After you introduced carbs back in?
Yeah. But
In what way did you feel better?
Well, I have been. So I started out with a lot of energy when I was doing the keto, and I lost weight, and I was just feeling like really good. And then after like I don't know, it was like 2 months or so, I just started to crash. Like I couldn't even function throughout the day.
He thought there was an adrenal problem, I think.
Yeah, that's what he said. So the carbs were like to help stabilize that, I guess.
Did you confirm that when you weren't getting the benefits from keto that you were actually still in ketosis? Were you measuring your
Yeah,
levels?
I did that.
And you were still in ketosis, but weren't feeling well after about a month or 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, okay. Okay. Is your brain fog always there, Toby?
No.
It's always meal related.
It seems like, so I'll usually have breakfast around 9:30, and then around like 2-3 hours after that, I start like half the days maybe get brain fog, and it's decently bad.
And you don't know what the triggers are?
No.
There's no way.
I constantly try removing, adding different foods, and it doesn't seem.
make any difference.
Oh, actually, that's not true. One thing I did notice. So when I used to have dairy, I would do bulletproof coffee with butter and coconut oil, but I stopped the dairy about like a year ago. So then I was still doing coconut oil in the coffee, and then I stopped doing that as a trial, and I definitely noticed less brain fog. So I would assume it's fat
It's the fats, right?
related. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the key thing is we had to talk about this, but you pattern SIBO. The question is, why do you have constant SIBO?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And one of them is you had you said you reported 4 concussions, right?
Yeah.
At least playing football.
Yeah.
And those are the ones you were actually out.
Like, yeah, no.
Lost consciousness.
Yeah.
And you probably had other impacts to the head.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. And some of that brain fog that isn't related to food may just be brain injury,
Yeah.
right? So there's a possibility you have brain injury and you have that brain gut access issue. And I know you worked with a person that was having a gargle
Yeah.
and doing like neurological exercises
Mhm.
and stuff, right?
Mhm.
So one of them is the brain injury. The other possibilities, you have like intestinal autoimmunity that hasn't been screened. So those are the two most likely mechanisms that can cause like these ongoing symptoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's kind of dive into that. Let me dive into that a little bit more. Let's talk about your brain injuries and that stuff first. Okay. So, what was of the 4 concussions you had that you lost consciousness of? What was the worst one?
It was just playing football, and the grass was slippery, so I my feet went under me, and I just went straight back and hit the back of my head.
The back of your head.
Yeah, like really hard. And then I got up and like went back to the huddle or whatever, and like the quarterback called the play, and then so like we went to line up, and I didn't really realize anything was wrong, but I was facing the opposite direction of everyone else, and so everybody was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And they started talking to me, and I didn't know if this was happening until they told me after. And then when the coach was called me out and said, "Oh, he's got a concussion," and then I left and came back with it maybe 5-10 minutes after.
You really kept playing?
No, I just stopped playing.
But the season?
Yeah, at least for a few weeks, I would think.
Okay.
I think they were doing testing that time, like on the computer. Mm-hmm. They did before and after kind of things. Mm-hmm. And I think I tested fine, so they'd let me play again.
Okay. When you look at your timeline of your gastrointestinal symptoms, up until high school, no problem?
Yeah, the only thing I could remember was having issues digesting fruit. And I've always kind of had that, so I never really eat much fruit. But that was pretty much it.
What would happen if you have fruit?
I would get bloated and distension and gas.
Same?
I can't remember how. It didn't seem that bad at the time.
You were diagnosed with allergy to strawberries.
And all nuts. At 3 years old, I had anaphylaxis.
So you went to an allergist that tested you?
Yeah.
Skin test, probably?
I have the test, and I don't... Was it blood or skin? I think it was blood.
Okay.
Because it was IgE. So
it was IgE?
Yeah.
IgE. It was nuts and
strawberries.
Strawberries. Any other fruits?
No.
Okay. So that was, but it wasn't like your symptoms now, right? Just if you had some fruit, you get some bloated or something.
Yeah.
Mild.
Yeah.
And not all the time, or all the time?
I don't think all the time.
Not all the time. So then high school happened, and through high school, you didn't really, it seems like when I was reading your case review, the way I was interpreting is you didn't really notice it until your first year of college, right? So
yeah, like the last year of high school, which was right around the time a lot of stuff happened. I mean, I had the concussions, multiple ones leading up to that. I was on Accutane.
Yep.
I was on throughout middle school and high school, multiple antibiotics for acne, like for months at a time, cycled through those.
And that was the third possibility that we talked about. One is the brain injury causing chronic gut issues. The other one was intestinal autoimmunity. The third one was Accutane-induced injury to the gut, inflammation, autoimmune response. Okay. Now, let's stick with the concussion thing for a sec, and then we'll get to the others. For you said you played 6 years of lecture playing junior.
Yeah, I started in
middle
fourth
school
grade and played through high school.
all the way through.
Yeah.
4th grade all the way through.
Yeah. And I played a lot too.
You played a lot. It was like a big part of your life.
It was huge, yeah. Really
It was your life.
And then I didn't play. I graduated a year early from high school, so I didn't play that last year.
Okay. So unrelated to your gut, we need to do a really thorough neurological exam. Make sure you're okay. And I know you worked with someone who does a little functional neurology.
Yeah.
Did they diagnose you with some kind of injury or impairment, or not really? It sounds like it's just a gargling.
Gagging, gargling, like some antipsychotics, some other, probably a couple other little brain
So antipsychotics.
Yeah.
And what else?
I mean, you were doing more than I was because you saw the same person. Do you remember, was I doing anything
I don't
else?
know what these are.
I didn't do that, though. I think I just did the antipsychotics, gargling, gagging, and...
That's it? No other eye movements, anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that's very minimal.
Yeah.
Okay. And that person was also doing functional medicine stuff with you and testing you?
Yeah, definitely. We did all kinds. We did some gut stuff, too.
I mean, you look at your history, you've been to functional medicine practitioners, they tried hydrochloric acid, they found H. pylori, you've been treated for that. Mm-hmm. They successfully got rid of some of their symptoms with SIBO protocol.
Yeah.
There's no need to replay the same songs. With the treatment plan, we have to think of something different. Those are all good approaches.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were playing football at the end of your high school and you're going into your first year college,
right?
Did you have any neurological changes, focus, concentration, cognition? When I was looking at your brain region localization form, the only main symptoms that really popped up here was planning and organizing, differently making decisions. Was that new?
That was definitely then too.
That was it before?
I don't remember it much before, but high school, I mean, like school was relatively easy. In college, I took it more seriously.
Right.
So I don't know if it was related to that or not.
Okay. So like when you look at this, when you look at the brain region localization form you filled out, what's really most concerning is anything that's 3 or 4. So 3 means 75% of the time, 100% of the time, right? So difficulty with the strain, controlling impulses, desires. You put 3. Difficulty planning, organizing. You put 4. Difficulty making decisions. 4. Difficulty initiating and finishing tasks. You put 3. Difficulty staying focused for extended periods of time. You put 3.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all frontal lobe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the rest of the form, nothing really else showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking at symptoms, and then actually, you look at the medial temporal lobe. You write a little bit about confusion about dates, passage of time and place.
Yeah.
Difficulty remembering names and faces, but that's it. That's not very significant there.
Okay.
And then, so those are all frontal lobe. Okay.
Okay.
And then in your history, you have difficulty with like shutting off your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the area of basic ganglia and direct pathway. Increased need to clear your throat. Regular contact of group of muscle, contract group of muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Regularly need to do that. Constant nervous system, restless mind. You wrote that in here, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And difficulty relaxing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few of these things because there's some relationships there. Because those are the basic ganglia. Did you have any of these restless mind patterns before?
Before concussions?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
But it was a long time ago.
Okay. But but in college, did you notice them getting worse? Have you noticed them getting worse since?
Yeah, I would.
You're mid-20s? You're
think
28
so.
now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, the past 8 years?
Yeah. I mean, they haven't really gotten worse since I started college, but around that time is when all the symptoms really started to, like, senior year of high school, and then when I went to college, everything, stomach, brain, all that kind of stuff got a lot worse, and it has been basically the same since then.
Okay. Now, the way your brain works is your frontal lobe is the area where you have focus, attention, concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the symptoms you have. So if we were just to look at the symptoms you have from filling out the paperwork, looks like your frontal lobe is the less efficient part, or the only part of your brain you're having symptoms with. And there may be some impacts on the basic ganglia. So the frontal lobe activates the basic ganglia.
Mm-hmm.
The basic ganglia has a pathway that suppresses your mind.
Okay.
It's not always firing all the time.
Okay.
And that restless mind can't shut off the mind. Constant anxiety that happens from actually the frontal lobe, not so much from the basic ganglia.
Okay.
So there is that relationship of your focus, attention, concentration, and happening as your inability to shut your mind off and anxiety taking place at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because then it's more frontal lobe. Some people just get the anxiety patterns and everything before that, and then you think of like.
Wait, could you clarify? So
did you have anxiety and restless mind and nervousness before?
Before what?
You had loss of impairments in focus, attention, concentration, initiating tasks.
Probably the other way around.
The other way around. You had focus, attention, concentration issues first.
Yeah.
Then over time you started to have anxiety and restless mind and some of those things.
I think so.
Okay. What about when you had OCD though?
Yeah, I had mild levels of OCD since I think middle school. Just little things, moving stuff around, fidgety, and not fidgety, but moving stuff around, being a little bit fixated.
So that's the thing too. Is some of those OCD patterns are the frontal lobe also.
Uh-huh.
It's just everything with you is so shade of gray. It's what is it? Because is it your frontal lobe? Because if you had, for example, as a child, OCD, that's also associated with the frontal lobe not developing as well and not able to shut down that basal ganglia pathway. Activate the and then kids get OCD, right?
Yeah.
And then also if you played football, and let's say you had some injury to your frontal lobe.
Yeah.
that cause the same symptoms.
Right.
And it could be both. You could have had
Yeah.
both, and then
Yeah.
like whatever your weakness is, really got to express more.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if the brain fog happens, irrespective of what you eat. So if you were even fasting, you would have brain fog, right?
I mean, when I did the keto, I noticed
It went away the first month.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Okay.
And I've thought about trying, I mean, maybe carnivore, but just like definitely doing the keto thing again. But I always hesitate to do something like that because when I first cut out carbs, or like right now, if I miss a meal, I definitely I get really bad brain fog. So I'm a little scared to do that, especially with the adrenal thing that happened last time.
So what happened last time?
Yeah, so that was when
That's when the month and a half you weren't feeling it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you ate carbs, you felt better.
I started feeling a lot better because I was like in the middle of the day, I was like laying on the ground, like I was just so tired. But at first, I really felt good.
Did you have any change? Because what happens sometimes. So let's assume, well, you've had concussions. So just the fact you've had concussions and you've had 4, you've had some injury to your brain.
Yeah.
Right, head injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get head injury, sometimes those immune cells called glial cells get activated, they get primed, and they're like in a heightened state, and then other things continue to trigger them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's there to some degree. And what a ketogenic diet does is it puts you in ketosis, and then those ketones have an anti-inflammatory effect. So, like most people that I work with that have brain fog, activated glial cells, brain injury, once they get in ketosis, they do have benefits.
Yeah. And
then you notice the brain fog and it improves. But there's times where it's not necessarily an adrenal thing. Like that whole assessment that your functional is like not accurate.
Okay.
You don't stress out your adrenals. If you're in ketosis, you don't put any stress on your blood sugar handling system.
Right, because it's actually easier.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not that.
Yeah.
Like that's just misinterpretation.
Okay.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did feel better when I started having carbs though.
Right, that's right.
Okay.
So that's real. So your clinical manifestation real, just maybe interpreting them the wrong way.
Right, okay.
It's possible that some people start to get hypoketonemia.
Oh.
So instead of you get hypoglycemia,
Yeah.
the ketone levels just start dropping.
Interesting. Okay.
And they don't feel as well.
Yeah.
And then just like a hypoglycemic doesn't eat as well, doesn't eat as often, doesn't eat as much as they need to. Their glucose levels fall.
Right.
So the question is, is it possible that you may have developed ketone drops?
Yeah.
Because maybe you weren't eating enough, or not eating enough fat during that period that was misinterpreted as an adrenal issue. You think that's possible?
Certainly possible.
Were you missing meals? Were you not eating as much fat? What was happening?
Honestly, I can't remember.
You can't remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be the most likely thing.
Okay.
The most likely thing is you really got into ketosis, you started to function better.
Yeah.
And then maybe you weren't eating as much of the fat.
I'm pretty rigid. I'm very
structured.
Yeah. So I can't
you don't
imagine,
think that was it?
I can't imagine that would happen. Yeah. It seems unlikely, but it's certainly possible.
Okay. Yeah. That's the tough part clinically is how much do we trust some of the
memory
and
I'm certainly
diagnosis.
open to trying it again.
You would be okay to do it?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to because I had some weight gain. The side thing that I would wanted to talk about was estrogen all over the place, but
yeah,
I've had weight gain on my hips that was very noticeable and seems to have a hard time going away.
Okay. Now if we look at your the form you filled out here, the metabolic assessment form. We'll pull it up here. Easy update. You have symptoms of your blood sugar dropping, right? Irritable if meals are missed,
Yeah.
they get lightheaded if meals are missed, eating relieves fatigue, agitated, easily upset, nervous. Those are all the signs of your blood sugar levels being unstable. Okay. You don't have much fatigue after meals. Eating sweets does not relieve fatigue or sugar. Frequent urinations. A lot of these could just be blood sugar related. I know. I got to talk to you about your frequent urination as a separate thing also.
Okay.
You say you're waking up 3 times a night.
Yeah, lately no, and actually I have the estrogens just recently decreased, so I don't know if it's related.
We'll check. We'll have to look. Okay. Some mechanisms there. So the possibility, there's there's a possibility that you get brain injury impacting your gut. It doesn't always have to be through the vagus.
Right. Okay.
You can have like dysautonomia. Sometimes people have dysautonomia, but the heart rates are all over the place, and they have sympathetic symptoms, and you don't have any of those. You just kind of have that restless mind.
Right. Yeah.
Thing that's hard. Okay.
I don't know if you want me to talk about now, but the blood sugar thing. I did do the continuous blood sugar monitor.
Yeah.
And it seemed pretty stable because she also did one, and it would basically stay between 140 and the low end maybe like 80. Sometimes so often what would happen. I mean, I have the pictures, but it would often go up. Sometimes after meals, not always, up to like 130, 140, and then almost immediately come back down. And sometimes it would crash a little to like 80, and then go back up to around, 100 or so, and stabilize.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. But that's also just a window of your level.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean that's how your receptor sites are responding.
Okay.
Because your receptor site sensitivity could change.
Okay.
That's the other variable that you have to account for. That may not always correlate with your blood glucose monitoring, right?
Right.
Blood glucose monitoring is like telling us like your adrenal glands, your pancreas, your liver all doing its job, keeping it stable. But you have all the symptoms.
Yeah. She gets really irritable like every night before bed too. Yeah. Is that blood sugar?
That could be your brain fatiguing.
I often get irritable. Yeah, it seems like when my blood sugar would be low.
But there's also there's a couple things too that can cause irritability, like the time you have. One's your blood sugar is low.
Yeah.
One's your brain's tired.
Yeah, and that does happen.
And then you just can't handle stimulus. You can't handle someone's voice.
Totally.
You can't handle someone's
confidence.
You don't want to have anything else to do.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more of that, or do you think it's more of your blood sugar dropping?
It seems like both, really. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
What happens is when your brain's tired, you have increased need to eat, and then you get fuel.
Yeah.
And then that can help a little bit.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when I eat, it definitely helps.
Right. But at the same time, your brain could be fatigued and exhausted.
Yeah.
And it may seem like just blood sugar, but it's not just blood sugar.
Right.
It's just that you don't have the endurance, you don't have the mitochondria from an injury. You have the inflammation that's ongoing, shutting down the mitochondria, so it's less efficient. So you're totally dependent upon your meal to get some endurance back.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about stay with the brain for a little bit more, okay?
Sure.
And this ketosis issue. First of all, the fact that immediately you went into ketosis and had a big change in your brain function is an immediate clinical red flag. Like you have glial cell activation and impaired mitochondria, right? Because a lot of people go into ketosis like, nah, I don't know if there's any difference in my brain.
Really?
There's most common thing is to just notice maybe their endurance is a little bit better, but it's not a huge difference.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a huge difference for you.
I think so. Do you remember?
I think so. I mean, you always say it was.
I always remember it that way for sure.
Yeah. It's more of a sign that you have some glial priming.
Yeah.
Some inflammation there. Okay. Let's talk about this nighttime irritability that you have. Okay. Can it be different day to day?
It's pretty much every day.
Every night by what time?
Yeah.
10?
Yeah, like 10. Just have a really short fuse and get mad at her all the time.
Yeah.
for
just normal things.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And I have this much patience. It's so bad.
Okay, and you understand physiological. It's not like you personally.
No.
Yeah,
no.
definitely.
It's a healthy marriage, yeah.
Totally.
No. It's and I don't take it personal because I know that.
He's like in.
I'll just blow up for no reason. It's so annoying.
Does it matter how much activity you do that day for your brain or how much stimuli you get? Could it be different from one day to the next?
I mean, I don't always have it.
Right.
So maybe that's what's happening. I don't really know. There doesn't seem to really be a correlation.
So what are you doing throughout the day, work-wise and functionally?
Yeah. I mean, I wake up around 9-ish. We'll have breakfast and a coffee, and then pretty much within 30 minutes to an hour start work. I work from home on a computer all day.
What kind of cognitive tasks are you doing?
I'm an entrepreneur, so I have multiple businesses, so that's usually strategic thinking, marketing, pretty high-level stuff that's pretty brain fatigue oriented. It's not... Yeah.
So you're planning, organizing,
a lot of
cognitive strategies, all this stuff. So it's highly cognitive.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, basically do that all day. You know, have lunch around 12 or 1, and then sometimes take a break. And
okay. I mean, it's all frontal lobe. It's all prefrontal. It's all executive function.
Yeah.
So your whole job is executive function.
So I should get a construction job?
Wouldn't hurt. It might help.
Right.
But the point is, okay, are there days when your workload is higher? Like maybe you have a project or a deadline or something, and you're doing more. You're doing executive function tasks longer.
Yeah.
If you do executive function last longer, is there a relationship between your irritability and anxiety that night?
It definitely increases brain fog, I would say. So
it does increase your brain fog.
Yeah, okay. But the irritability I haven't really thought about. Probably. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. So I mean, we're trying to see. We're trying to look at the window of your endurance, right? So when you get a brain injury, you get inflammation, right? And then these glial cells in the brain can stay activated after the injury for many, many years, right? It's the kind of that's the mechanism of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, where they used to think you get an injury, and then you're fine, and it goes away, you're fine. But what they find is that you get an injury, these glial cells get turned on, they don't necessarily turn off, and then you have ongoing neuroinflammation. And then the ongoing neuroinflammation, they found increases your risk for degenerative diseases because there's a fire in the brain and it keeps injuring surrounding neurons. Yeah. But that inflammation also uncouples mitochondria. So mitochondria are the energy producing parts of your cells. So they have these complex enzymes that make ATP energy, and inflammatory triggers, inflammatory mediators make those less efficient. So then endurance levels are down. Okay. So let's say there's an injury to the brain and there's some degree of inflammation. That degree of inflammation can be impacted by your diet, environmental factors, anything that can raise or increase your inflammation, right? And then you have your mitochondria making ATP. And that mitochondrial production of ATP has so much potential, maybe more or less based on your inflammation, right? But then it only has so much activity it can do. And then you fatigue it. Yeah. And then when you fatigue the frontal lobe can no longer gate input, can't handle more stimuli. Yeah. It can't activate the basic ganglia, shut down your limbic responses. Yeah. So you can't just normally you have things that irritate you, and you kind of just think about it. Oh, let me think about something else. Yeah. But that's all executive function. That's all frontal lobe. Okay. But if your frontal lobe's gone and tired, it can't do that anymore. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we call it gone limbic. So your frontal lobe impacts your limbic. Limbic is like everything that drives you crazy. Yeah. Sound, light, chewing. Yeah. Everything, right? Yeah. That's the frontal lobe that gates that pathway. Okay. So one question is like, what's your endurance? Are you exceeding it? Because if you're exceeding your endurance, your brain cannot recover. Like you won't be able to recover. It's just like an athlete who's like running all the time and has like shin splints. Yeah. And they're like, I don't know how to heal my shin splints. Yeah. You can't run. Right. No. What else can I do? Look, what supplement can I take? You're like, you can't. Yeah. You're gonna have to decrease your load. You have to break it up. You have to do things. Okay. So because you could just literally be a person who's had a brain injury and have not been able to recover. Yeah. And you're in a state where you can't recover. And a huge red flag is you're going limbic at night. Yeah. Right? That means like you've exceeded your endurance. And then there's some days you haven't. Yeah. So, part of working together is not just is to have the same thought process, so you understand the mechanism, so we can communicate and we kind of figure what things are. So from the brain injury side of your case, which is in your chief complaint is bloating and all that, right? But this could be related to it, and it's also very important for your health in the future. Yeah. Right now, there's a red flag. The days you get this anxiety and agitation and can't handle any more input, right? It doesn't sound like it's blood sugar. Okay. But obviously, if you eat, it'll get better, because your brain's fatigued and now you give it more fuel. Yeah. But it doesn't sound like it's a blood sugar issue. Okay. So now the question is, for you to have the consciousness of how do you have days where you don't have that? Right. And the amount of sleep you had the night before could be a factor. The amount of inflammatory things that increase your mitochondria not working as efficiently can be a factor. Yeah. And then the brain demands you have. Yeah. Could all be a factor to it too. Yeah. Right. So we have to like think about these mechanisms together and kind of like figure out what happens. Yeah. But ultimately, if you're constantly in a brain fatigue mode, you can't recover.
Yeah.
And if you do have a brain gut axis issue, if your brain is like fatiguing and it's impacting your autonomics and your gut function and so forth, that's not going to work.
Yeah, the exercises and that kind of stuff.
So part of it, like the brain gut axis, is sometimes you just have to fix the brain and see what happens to the gut. Okay. And sometimes you can get some change, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Right? But we're gonna have to really try to optimize your brain health and look at those mechanisms. Because your second complaint you wrote down is brain fog.
Definitely. Yeah.
And your third complaint is fatigue.
Yeah. So that changes quite a bit, but the first two are pretty steady.
So your brain fog and fatigue may have a component, especially since you've had at least 4 concussions, probably other traumas to your brain that didn't cause.
Right.
And you may have already had like these injured glial cells primed, and they kept reactivating.
Yeah.
Or in that 6-year window. Of time. So let's talk about some things we need to figure out. So one of the things we need to figure out is what's different on the days you don't have this agitated nervousness and anxiety.
Okay.
This is what are we going to call it? Let's call it being limbic. Can we use that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Limbic.
And you mean specifically at nighttime or anytime?
Yeah, at nighttime.
You want me to think about it right now?
Yeah, if you can.
Well, definitely if I miss a meal, it just kind of throws me off.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
If I have big stress thing that I'm trying to work on, and Maddie tries to talk to me about something, then I'll tend to get more of that state.
It's just
too much stuff.
Too much executive function.
Yeah.
Excess.
Yeah.
Executive function. Okay.
Sleep. Probably. Yeah. No, sleep definitely would if I didn't get enough. But most nights I get enough sleep.
So sleep's not even a factor. You're getting enough sleep.
Yeah. I think I get it pretty good. Any ideas?
I don't know. Could it be exercise related or allergy related?
Yeah, it can be.
Exercise usually helps a little bit with my brain stuff, I think.
Okay.
What was the other one you said?
Allergy.
I don't know if I've noticed that. Wait, I had another one.
Like, if you exercise a ton that day, it doesn't make you have less patience that night?
I don't think so. Exercise usually makes me feel better in general.
Have you noticed that?
I don't know. I was trying to think. Well, yesterday we did a lot of exercise and you were totally fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. What else?
You didn't do any brain stuff.
Well, we did a little bit. Okay, wait, hold on. I had something else I remembered.
Take your time.
Sleep, diet.
We talked about executive function, like too many things at once.
Right, definitely.
On days with certain meetings with people?
No, it's more just like the amount, probably. It wasn't work related. It wasn't food, sleep, light. When I get like irritable. Oh my gosh!
Stimulating TV? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
Once you get limbic, light, sound, movement,
anything,
noise is going to just make you go crazy.
Yeah.
So, but we're hoping to get you before then.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's just say we know for sure missed meals and cognitive task overload, too much executive function demands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So the fixing the meals is easy to do.
Okay.
So you don't miss meals, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you might not have consciousness of it, how much of an impact it may be having. Right. Now, how many days out of the week are you getting limbic?
Most nights.
7 days.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
I'd say it's
6.
Okay.
Let's just give it 6.
Maybe even 5. Because on the weekend you're fine. So maybe it is work related.
It is work related.
Well, definitely that just adds to the executive stuff.
Right.
But I often work on weekends.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm more relaxed.
You got to find those relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you're the boss, right?
Yeah.
It's your business. Okay.
I with work. I do notice that I used to sometimes would listen to a podcast or something while I was working, and that would really stress me out. It'd be too many things at once. So I've tried to really just single focus at a time, and that helps a ton. And then just also taking it slower through the day, just a slower pace helps too.
Okay.
So even going out, if we go shopping, I'll get it.
Limbic.
Yeah.
It's too much stimulus.
It's left and right, all this stuff, and I just get stressed out.
Right. So you have a brain injury, for
Okay.
sure. 100%. Okay. So now the thing is how do we help you recover?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So every time you go on limbic, you're not going to recover that day.
Right.
This is what it means. So recovery means your microglials calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery means your other neurons that are healthy around the area start connecting to each other and
Mm-hmm.
they start working.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That requires ATP.
Mm-hmm.
And it, especially before you go to bed.
Okay.
Right? Because when you're sleeping, that's when recovery mode's shown in. That's
right.
your growth hormone.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you've depleted all your ATP
yeah.
every single night,
Yeah.
and then you go to bed,
Right.
and that's when your circadian rhythm happens and your growth factors turn on,
Right.
and there's no fuel,
Yeah.
and your mitochondria's already done,
Right.
you're not going to recover.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times with people that have brain injuries, it's more obvious in the acute stages because yours is not acute anymore, yours is chronic.
Mm.
In the acute stages, like they can't recover until they get plenty of sleep and they get plenty of recovery, and they're not exceeding their brain's endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy to see that. Yours is more complicated because you're highly functioning. Like
Yeah.
you're running businesses, you're doing things.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
like, how could there be something wrong with your brain? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know there is.
I know there is, but outside of looking in or something.
From somebody else, yeah, they
Yeah,
weren't
right.
fine.
But
No.
you know, so we have to get you to the point you stop getting limbic. Like
I do remember the other one too. Just
What is
sorry
it?
to interrupt. It was when I have digestive issues. Like if I get really bloated.
oh yeah, really bloated. Yeah.
Or any just bad digestion, I'll notice my head and that often
Yeah.
happens actually around the same time, because what happens is like I'll have breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, and then often 2-3 hours after I'll notice my stomach gets kind of like burning. If often it's not finished digesting, and then like before bed I'll have some water, and for some reason when I have water, like a few hours after eating, it's just like I just get bloated and I just burp, and I'm just like, then I get really irritable, and for sure.
Then it's definitely a brain cut.
Okay.
It's bidirectional, right?
Yeah.
The brain impacts the gut's not working, and then the gut impacts the brain, and
Right.
then you get this. All right. Well, I mean, when I look at like, hey, you've gargled, like, oh, big deal.
Mhm.
You need some antipsychotics. You're like, that. You've not had a very good workup.
Okay.
Right. And it sounds like ketosis worked for you, but you may have had your ketone levels drop.
Yeah, I would love to do ketosis again.
So we have to think of like how we're going to strategize, make a plan, and then as I'm trying to digest your case, like because I read it the first time, I read it again this morning, and now we're talking and we're trying to think through it and figure it out. Your first goal is to stop being limbic. Like this is
Okay.
going to be goal number one for
Okay.
us.
So how do I handle that with like the digestive stuff? Because it's
Well,
hard to control.
We're going to see once you stop being limbic, what happens to your gut.
Oh, but I mean sometimes the gut causes the limbic thing. It seems
You
like.
might, it maybe that's how you're seeing it.
Okay.
We don't know. But
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
We have to start somewhere, like,
Yeah.
because the thing is, with your case, it's not black and white. It's all
Yeah.
the shades of gray.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to go after one mechanism and then see what is left over,
Mhm.
right? Listen, there's not much left to do for your gut. You've
Okay.
taken every supplement.
Right.
Yeah.
You've been on a FODMAP diet.
Yeah.
I don't have anything more creative to give you.
Okay.
I don't have a special probiotic or a special enzyme
Right.
or something. That you've done your job there.
Yeah.
Taking
What about
it,
the
yeah.
fasting component?
We gotta be well. There's some potential benefits for it because if you have prime glial cells
Right.
and all things,
Yeah.
but the fasting component, the benefits of it is going to be for your brain, not for your gut.
Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, like going after more strategies for your gut after all the things you've done
Yeah.
is just going to be wasting time.
Yeah, it's weird because I do seem to, my gut seems to do a little better if I don't eat for a few hours, but my brain does way worse.
And this neuroinflammation microglial thing is really, really common, and,
Oh.
and it's a big deal.
Mhm.
Like when I decided to put together the Cross Institute to teach practitioners,
Mhm.
my very first seminar I picked was neuroinflammation. Because I'm
Mhm.
like, this is the most overlooked area
Oh,
Yeah.
of
interesting.
all the other things, and I can't teach this last
Yeah.
because then I'm going to constantly try to explain, hey, some of these people
Right.
have to teach this first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I was like, who's going to want to hear about neuroinflammation? Because everyone wants to hear about the gut.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
but it's a real deal. So, like, when we look at like how we're going to manage your case, you got to think about the big picture. When you get on limbic, that's brain fatigue.
Okay.
When you go to the mall and you get limbic, that's
Mhm.
brain fatigue.
Yeah. Okay.
And if it's happening 5 days a week,
Mhm.
how do we do that? So, and it's possible, and we're just going to assume right now that it's a bidirectional relationships. I mean, your gut, your diet's already clean. You're already taking everything. There's not much to do there. We can kind of maybe go through that a little more detail just to make sure.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, getting you back in ketosis can give you more efficient fuel. You just got to make sure your ketone levels aren't dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were in ketosis, but you were on a huge project and you hadn't eaten anything for 5 hours, you can have your ketone levels drop.
Interesting.
And then if you go back in carbs, you'll go, hey, I do feel better.
Right.
Because now you're getting fuel to your brain again.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. So we have to really look at your ketone measurements again.
Mm-hmm.
You have a ketone meter?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you use Ketone Mojo, or what do you use?
I have that one, and that's one I most recently used.
That's one you use most?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what have been your ketone measurements in the past when you've been in it? Do you remember?
What are the numbers again? The range?
Anything above 0 is you're in ketosis.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It was...
Like 1 something, or...
I mean, I probably have the numbers. You want me to check on my phone, or...?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Actually, you can just tell me about it. It's okay.
I don't know. It was definitely...
It's above 1 and all that.
Whatever the range was, it was over. It was good.
Okay, great. So you want to get in that level.
Okay.
The problem, the problem also is you can't just look at levels, just like you can't look at your glucose monitoring levels, because it doesn't really reflect what's happening in the cells when the cells are uptaking. It's just whether you have some in your bloodstream, right? That's the window you're looking at, but that's not what's happening at the cellular level.
Okay.
So we do want to look at your symptoms too. But it doesn't hurt when you feel like low to measure your ketones.
Then I should measure.
Yeah, just see if we can see a relationship to your ketones.
Okay, so like if I could check when I feel good and then check when I don't feel good and see if they're dropped.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have you probably check multiple times throughout the day. And you already know how to get into a ketogenic diet.
Yeah, I mean...
What will work for you?
Just, I would eat a lot of fat and decent amount of protein and hardly any carbs. I mean, I could actually eat like probably half a sweet potato and be fine at dinner.
Yeah.
That's usually what I was doing.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, when you measure your ketones, when you're not eating, let's say you're working, and you go 5 hours without eating.
Yeah. I mean, I never do that. I don't think I ever did that.
3 hours?
Yeah,
let's say go 3 hours.
Okay.
So you can pass your window. With 3 hours of eating, you still might have high ketones.
And
you may have actually made more. Or something.
Right.
But your brain is fatigued.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much ketones you have.
Right.
So there may not be that relationship.
Okay.
So we want to see if there is that relationship, but don't let it be shocking. Man, my ketones are highest they've been, but I feel terrible.
Yeah.
That could totally happen.
Okay.
But we want to at least make sure you being in ketosis is not the factor.
Okay.
Okay.
What about MCT oil?
Yeah, so MCT oil is great because it's the benefit of that, it immediately goes into ketones.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's one of the things you can do also if you're working and you can't get to a meal and you can't stop. Just grab 4 or 5 capsules and swallow it.
Yeah.
And then that'll work. Okay. So what do you think is your time period before your executive function system starts to get taxed?
It really just depends.
Is it the more intense the work is?
Yeah, I mean, the multitasking is the worst, probably.
The multitasking.
If I've got a lot of things going on the same day, that's definitely more difficult, and it doesn't happen nearly as bad as in the past.
See, the thing is, the multitasking and the things you're doing are actually therapeutic for your brain to recover from the injury.
Oh, right.
It's frontal lobe, and you're doing executive functions. But if you exceed your metabolic rate, it all goes downhill.
Okay.
Just like if someone had a weak bicep, they've been in a cast, right? Mm-hmm. They move it, it's beneficial.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll recover.
So what's the recovery period for brain function? Is it a daily amount you have, or split work into 15-minute chunks, or when you sleep?
You're gonna have to experiment.
Okay.
You're gonna have to experiment and find out what stops or window. Or clinical window to see what's happening is if you get limbic.
Mm-hmm.
Then you kind of have to look back and see.
And how bad does the limbic need to be
Well, I don't know. That's because get different levels of being limbic, right?
Right. Right. Okay.
But you have to grade it and just kind of.
Okay.
The most important thing is you have the consciousness of it, right? Because if you're like I was saying, if you have if you had a weak biceps and you were doing some movements and curls to recover, But if we gave a person 100-pound weights to do after they've been in a cast, they would never recover.
Right.
And that's kind of, I think, where you're at. You can actually probably fix your brain without antisaccades or any of these movements.
Right.
Because the area of your brain most likely injured is your frontal lobe.
Yeah.
And you're engaged in high frontal lobe activity.
Yeah.
You're just exceeding your rate, probably because of underlying neuroinflammation.
Yeah.
And ketosis is probably the best thing for you. But you probably had gotten into a low ketone state, or you could have burned up all your ketones because of your high executive function during your task and been in a low ketone state, so it wasn't necessarily related to your diet.
Yeah.
But you exceeded your metabolic rate, and there's that misinterpretation, so you're on the right track, and then you went back.
Yeah.
And now you're like a mystery patient, but you're not. That was a mystery patient. It's just they can't figure out the mechanism.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think what we're gonna have to do is focus on that.
Okay.
So let's talk about, so for diet, let's make some strategies here and some goals and plans here. So for diet, to get you back in ketosis, if you can, you're going to check your ketone levels and see if there's any association. I'm going to make some notes here. Any association between your function, between your levels and your function, okay? Our initial goal is preventing limbic states at nighttime. Okay. Digestion, burping, bloating. Okay. The days you don't go limbic, you notice the difference between your gut function?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's even more of a clue.
Yeah.
So then the other thing I want you to look for, because like basically, when the case gets complicated like yours, is having the awareness and consciousness of mechanisms, right? So let's start evaluating the association between when you're limbic and your gut function.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much. I mean, when my stomach gets really upset, I get limbic on some level. Yeah, most.
But or vice versa. I mean, they're the same time.
No, it's definitely the limbic happens after the digestive stuff, like throughout the day even. Or just even like a mild version.
The digestion happens after, or no, the digestion happens
first. Like I'll notice my stomach getting really upset, and then I just kind of get like irritable, and I assumed it was from like bloating or burping or something or acidity or whatnot, but.
Okay, well that's possible too.
Right.
But we're gonna go the other way.
Okay.
Because you've already done so much good stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it might be your brain's already fatigued. Your gut manifests first, and then the rest happens.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's gut first.
Totally.
But in reality, it's neurological.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For your brain first, and then it manifests in your gut first, and then it progresses into your brain.
Okay.
But we want to see if they're independent. Like if you say, "Hey, I'm no longer limbic, and 7 days out of the week I figured out how to do this."
Yeah.
Right. But I still have this gut bloating thing worse than ever.
Yeah.
Then we have to look at independent mechanisms. Right now we're going to try to look at maybe they're interrelated to each other. Okay. So association between limbic and gut function, even though gut function symptoms start first. Now when you go limbic, there's different degrees of being limbic.
Yeah.
Everything from like rage, anger, yelling, to just to what? What's your range?
I mean, yeah, pretty intense. But that's not as often. I mean, that's nighttime if it does happen. But Maddie knows that happens, so she's pretty nice then. Tries to be. But yeah, I mean, sometimes throughout the day I'll just get like a mild version.
You get like overwhelmed.
Yeah, it seems like I get overwhelmed a lot when that happens.
Okay.
And just like the stimulation.
So let's talk about what you need to do when you get limbic.
Okay.
Because here's what's happened now. Now you're limbic. Now your brain has exceeded its metabolic rate, and now you can't recover.
Right.
When you're supposed to recover. So what we have to do is when you get limbic, is you need to. I mean, you may already do it. You just may need to decrease any more input.
Yeah.
You need to shut off the lights. You need to shut out the sound.
Yeah.
You need to go into somewhere dark and quiet.
Yeah.
And recover.
What about exercise at that time?
It can go both ways.
Okay.
What have you noticed with it?
I think it helps because it just, I don't know.
Some people, especially the same repetitive movement where they don't have to think. Like just getting a treadmill, just running, or getting back and just pedaling.
Yeah.
Versus trying to do
that
task.
Yeah, definitely.
That might be the best way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that'll get blood flow to your brain, get growth factors to your brain. So if you want to do like just a repetitive physical activity without much cognitive thought.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to go outside shooting baskets or something like that.
Right. Okay.
Unless
tennis.
What do you do? What helps you? What sports help you? Let's just talk about it.
I really just play tennis and lift weights, and those both help, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That will work. I mean, that'd be the thing. It's just you'll be the best person to know what's working for you more than anything else. But just know that the more executive function you have during your exercise,
right? Yeah.
the worse it could be for you.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Sometimes it's just best to run or do treadmill.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you have at your house? Do you have a gym?
Yeah, we have a gym nearby.
So, a gym nearby? So you have to drive there?
Like 2 minutes, yeah.
It's 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. And the sound isn't too bad for you there? So if you go to a crowded gym when you're Olympic. Okay.
So
you don't usually go. I mean, sometimes you get limbic at like 5.
I go to the gym and I have to come back feeling a lot better.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So just be very careful because the point is like we want consistency.
Yeah.
And you may not like pick up on those relationships. You might go to the gym one day and it's super crowded and super thing, and you don't get the same benefits.
Mm-hmm.
There's another day you go and you got into your rhythm, you got into music. Was it rhythmic music?
Yeah.
You're in a rhythmic movement.
Right.
Your whole brain just got a chance to recover.
Yeah.
And then it was a great day for you.
Yeah.
But there's, a third of the time you go, you're actually being more fatigued without even knowing it.
Right.
And then you go, well, exercise isn't helping anymore. Again, it may not be exercise. Maybe the traffic on the way there.
Right.
Or maybe not the traffic, parking, or someone agitated you, someone made you upset.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's too much movement, emotion.
Yeah.
And maybe, who knows?
Okay.
The stimuli was too much. So you have to be careful with, once you're in limbic, stimulus is an issue.
Yeah.
Ideal scenarios, you have like a treadmill or you have a bike at home and you just pound some repetitive movement.
Yeah.
Your headphones and no other input.
Yeah.
But it is only 2 minutes away. You decide.
Okay.
But be aware of those. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you're limbic, you can. So let me put some notes here. I'll put together like a summary plan, and then I'll have these are all my notes I'm trying to figure out how to put together. Okay. So when you're limbic, you can't exercise. Okay. You gotta take some. You gotta immediately take some MCT.
Okay.
You gotta get your ketones immediately up.
Okay.
You gotta eat some fuel. You gotta eat.
Okay.
As soon as you're limbic, MCT, and since you're gonna be in ketosis, that'll be the fastest way.
Okay.
Like eat, decrease symptoms. Don't go in a hypoketone state to work out.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then if you go work out after you've been limbic, do you sleep well? Or do you not?
Yeah, totally.
No problem.
I probably sleep a little better.
You do sleep better?
After exercise?
After exercise?
Yeah.
Okay. And that could be, the thing that also happens, like when you get limbic, your epinephrine or norepinephrine, your adrenaline starts racing through your system.
So it helps to work out.
And then when you work out, you burn it off.
Yeah.
And some people can't
that
eliminate
helps. Yeah,
that
what happens,
until they burn it off.
I think so. Yeah, because, that's interesting. Makes sense.
So it's like burning off that like high intense thing, right?
Yeah.
You feel it when you're working out.
Yeah, like if I'm working and there's stressful stuff, or we got, whatever going on, and then I just like can't handle it, so I just go to the gym, and then it's just like, I feel better.
And you burn off all that catecholamines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then let's see. So you sleep okay, no problem? Like you said you have frequent urination, it was loaded with estrogens.
I don't know. I mean, it has gone down quite a bit.
So the other part of letting your brain recover is to not get past the metabolic rate have plenty of fuel, so then when you go into sleep, your brain actually has a chance to recover.
Yeah.
So how many times a night are you waking up?
Lately, once, maybe twice. But for a while there, it was like 3 to 5 times a night. It's crazy.
And what do you think has made the difference?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I
don't know.
The only thing that's happened that's changed has been the estrogen thing. It's lower now, so.
Because you were taking a new supplement or a prescription or something.
Yeah, so I was seeing the what do you call it? Endocrinologist, and so we were seeing each other for a few months, and we started with Clomid, and that increased testosterone and estrogen, which you should have all the results. But and then we tried. Do we immediately go to anastrozole?
So how did you get on Clomid and end up an endocrinologist? You had one of the functional medicine person check your hormones, and it was totally abnormal.
Yeah, so I was seeing the functional medicine doctor. They saw the estrogen was already high, and they referred me to an endo, or just in general. And then I found this endo who's also a functional medicine doctor.
Oh, okay.
And then she prescribed Clomid. Then I think after we went right into the anastrozole, and that's what I was on like a month ago, and that decreased the estrogen.
And your testosterone, didn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I stopped the Clomid too.
Yeah.
That, so I think that was part of it.
So you're just taking what again?
Right now, I'm not taking any prescriptions.
Oh, perfect. Thank God. Makes everything easier. Okay. All right. So no prescriptions at all, right?
Nope.
You're still taking low dose naltrexone?
Nope.
Okay, so nothing.
Nope.
Okay. So let's talk about the 1 or 2 times per night.
Yeah.
It may or may not be related to estrogens.
Okay.
So let's also see, we're looking at associations between like your limbic state and your GI function. We also want to look at the relationship between sleeping through the night and your limbic function. Limbic episodes. So like if you're not having a limbic episode, do you sleep better?
I don't think it makes a difference.
That makes any difference?
No. Like the waking up is actually fine. I just go to the bathroom and go back to sleep, and I go right back to sleep, and it's totally fine. As far as I know.
Sometimes he sleep talks or like has like night terrors, basically.
Yeah, I've had that for I imagine forever.
Do you think that could be related?
That's the basic ganglia also.
Oh.
And the frontal lobe and basic ganglia loop. We see with child developmental disorders, and the next time you see a high amount of that is literally Parkinson's.
Oh.
And their frontal lobe starts to degenerate away. They start having those, and they start like beating up their spouse in the middle of the night. Not intentionally,
terrifying.
just from the arms flinging all over the place. They have to have like separate beds. It's not intentional.
No, he doesn't move like he just.
It's just hyperkinetic movement activity.
Interesting.
But it's all part of that frontal lobe basic ganglia pathway. But all right. So let's talk about your sleep, because if you get up and go back to bed, that's great. Now, when you get into these REM cycles, that's when you really recover. When you get a deep REM.
REM.
Yeah.
And I don't get interesting. So I do have the Aura ring. So I always have plenty of deep sleep, like every night. Last night I had 4 hours or more. It was insane.
So we're not worried about that.
But the REM I am often light on. Like it doesn't say it's enough.
Okay.
So I don't know how accurate this is, but it usually says it's usually REM.
So what time are you in bed by?
Usually like 11 is right when we go to sleep lately, and I fall asleep usually right away in a couple minutes. And then wake up about 9, so I'm going about 10 hours. And my actual sleep time, yeah.
But you were actually sleeping less than 8.
Yeah,
right?
I sleep only like 8, so the efficiency's not.
But you're still getting 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sleep. It's good. Yeah.
It's a good life.
Yeah, I designed it that way. I don't take any meetings in the morning and just let myself sleep in.
It's very smart.
And it helps me get REM the longer I sleep in the morning. So.
Okay. All right. So let's not worry too much about that.
Okay.
And let's look at your main symptoms again. I'm sorry, as I talk to you, I get the gears working, trying to figure out what's going on. Because you only get so much from reading a document.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put down chief complaints, stomach discomfort, burning, intense pain, burning, difficulty to pass, burps, that's just the bloating, that's all the GI stuff.
Yeah.
And then brain fog and fatigue, cold hands and feet, irritability, overwhelm. And the irritability, overwhelm, decision We're just calling that limbic right now.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cold hands and feet. Is that all the time?
Yeah. They 90% of the time are that. Then 10% they're like hot.
Okay, so we'll check your circulation.
Okay.
What's your blood pressure normally? Is it normal?
Like slightly high.
Slightly high.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's check that out. The fatigue, is that, because that's your fourth or fifth chief complaint. Tell me more about the fatigue. What does that relate to?
I mean, it hasn't been bad, right? Lately, when I filled that out, it was definitely worse, and over the last year or two, it has been pretty bad. But the last couple months, I mean.
Well, you were fatigued yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
That was just because I worked out and went to the gym the day before.
Well.
Yeah. And I mean, I get brain fatigue for sure, but body fatigue not as bad right now, really.
It's just so when you say fatigue, it's really brain fatigue.
Yeah. But when for example, when I did the keto 2 years ago or so, I was dead throughout the day. I just had to crash in the afternoon and couldn't even function. And that was the body for sure.
That was for sure the body.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go through your day and what you're eating and your diet and so forth. Are you on any kind of restrictions? Are you gluten-free, dairy-free?
Yeah, so we're like paleo, but we do eat rice. So no dairy, no grains besides rice.
No dairy, no grain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been that way for like 4 or 5 years.
Okay, now it's working for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fine.
What would happen if you had dairy?
I had it like a year ago, and I think it was fine. So I don't have any now, unfortunately, but I often will get like what I assume is eczema on my fingers and on my legs, but it's like all gone right now. So I stopped dairy to see if that helped, and I don't think it helped at all because I haven't had dairy in a year, and I was just a couple days ago I had itchy hands. So
you get itchiness?
Oh, really bad. My skin gets pretty itchy. Yeah.
Okay.
But like it's really intense in one area, and then like I wear gloves to sleep, and sometimes put on hydrocortisone, and that'll help.
Okay. And that you do have visible eczema in that area, or is it
I
just
think
itchiness?
it's eczema.
Okay. It's like a red rash.
All right.
Totally seems like it. And I had that as a child too when I was 3.
Okay.
On my face.
Let's go back. So no dairy, no grain. What else?
Yeah. We basically just eat meats, vegetables, a lot of potatoes, and rice.
Meats, veggies, rice. Okay.
Mm-hmm. No beans, nothing like that.
What time do you wake up?
Usually like 9.
9. So when is the first time you eat?
9:30.
Okay, perfect. And then you eat throughout the day? At what times?
I usually eat at about 12, sometimes 1. It just depends on what time I wake up. But usually about 3 hours after.
It'll be 3 hours.
Yeah. And then, because then if I don't, sometimes I'll forget to have after lunch. So then if I have lunch at like noon, I might not have a snack till like 5, and I can kind of feel it around 4-ish. So
what do you feel?
Brain fog usually.
Okay. So that'll be like probably the key factor that will make you go limbic from a fuel perspective.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you really want to make sure you don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. But as you go back into ketosis.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so then we have dinner probably at 6:30ish usually, and then after dinner, that's my biggest meal for sure. I don't usually eat anything the rest of the night.
At 6:30.
Yeah, like 6:37 is dinner, and then I don't have anything else usually.
Do you wake up with energy?
It's like, I don't know.
Are you?
Not particularly. I mean, it's just like normal level, I guess. I'm not like dead, but I'm not wide awake and ready to go either.
Yeah, I mean, you have a 15-hour time-restricted feeding window.
Yeah.
If you go 6:30 dinner and 9:30 first meal.
Yeah.
That's okay with you. Seems like it's working for you.
Yeah, it seems
protective
fine.
for your brain. I mean, it's all good.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not having any problems, like some people can't stay sleep through the night, they have to have an extra meal before they go to bed, and they can't.
Right. Yeah, I've experimented that over the years, and it doesn't seem to really.
I mean, if I could keep you in a time-restricted window like you are, that's going to help your recovery.
Okay. Should I try and push it longer or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Let's get you in stable ketosis without your ketone levels dropping. Let's get you to not exceed. Because then that's more of an ATP demand.
Yeah.
We don't want any more ATP demands right now. We want
Yeah.
to get you so you don't have fatigue.
Okay.
Okay. So that sounds like the strategy there. Now, we talk about your gut. Has anything... I know when you went on the FODMAP diet and took some antimicrobials, it helped you.
Yeah.
But besides that... Because that's actually just treating the overgrowth. It's not really fixing your gut problem. It's just you have an overgrowth.
Right.
And now it's you got rid of it. By not having fermented foods and stuff. Anything besides
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of little things like I try not to overeat because I know I'll feel worse if I have just a little bit too much food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat a ton of vegetables. Like I definitely limit them.
Yep.
And there's certain maybe vegetables that are worse. I don't know.
I mean, right now I'm sure if we did another SIBO test on you, your methane or hydrogen will be up.
Yeah.
Because you're still your gut's not doing what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And autonomically, if you can't control your gut, your motility and your bowels, and you may not have the food. And do you have constipation?
No, never.
Never have constipation?
1 to 2 a day. Yeah.
1 or 2 almonds a day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good sign. That's a really good sign. Because if your actual nerve plexus were injured,
yeah,
you wouldn't be having 1 or 2 almonds a day.
Okay.
But if you were circulating in epinephrine, norepinephrine, when you're going limbic the rest of the night, that might shut down your valves.
Oh, okay.
And now you have this overgrowth opportunities to take place.
Right.
Right? Because your valves are working under a parasympathetic response.
Mm-hmm.
And with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, bacteria from the large intestine moves into the small intestine simply because the ileocecal valve of the valves are not closing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have high amounts of epinephrine, norepinephrine, there is no closure.
Right.
Right. It's also like people get under lots of amount of stress, their gut get totally dysfunctions.
Yeah.
They can't handle sugar and they can't handle starches and fibers and all that. It's just and also the stress hormones disrupt your microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
In pathways unrelated to the valves closing or opening. So you just might be getting limbic every night, which is basically high amounts of circulating adrenaline.
Yeah.
Throwing off your microbiome, shutting off your gut plexus activity. Mm-hmm. But it's not like you've actually damaged your gut plexus since you're able to have 2 almonds a day.
Yeah.
This is why you're so mysterious.
Oh, didn't you have a ileocecal
valve
issue?
No, I mean people just maybe mentioned it. I don't. Never had
I mean, there's people that do visceral work that will diagnose people with ileocecal valve and do massage and therapy for that.
Yeah.
And that might be helpful because it'll activate your parasympathetics for a period of time. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't get to the underlying issue.
Right.
The underlying issue is you have physiology impacting your valves and your microbiome. Okay. And then if you look at your blood tests, you definitely have IgE reactions to a lot of stuff.
Like everything.
I know we talked about cleaning your house up already.
Yeah.
You guys have done that.
Yeah.
We got the
air
filters.
We have the filters. We have the things in the air conditioner.
The purifier, the home purifying machine.
Yep, both those.
Okay.
And then we just finally, I think, maybe got rid of the dog that was a problem.
Oh, good.
Like a few days ago, but he might be back. I don't know.
We're working on it.
Yeah, that's the.
I know you had issues with dust mite. Doug, did you have as well? Oh yeah, dog dander. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's see. This might be helpful. Is there a relationship between that and your less frequent urination?
Oh, it's been worse though, allergy-wise.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think
Okay. All right. So you don't have food allergies, IgE. Okay, well, the blood glucose looks good. I'm just reviewing. Anything that really screamed at your blood test that you think I need to make sure I don't miss looking at?
Not the blood test, but one of the stool tests. There was a parasite thing that we were talking about.
Blastocyst. Yeah, blastocyst.
There was one on there too, Dimetiba fragilis on that one.
Yeah.
But other than that, no. I mean the estrogen thing, obviously, but it's probably connected to the SIBO, or I don't know.
Well, let's look at your. Let me take a look at that.
Well, I don't know if it was relevant, but you got that sperm test thing.
Yeah, the thing is, it's such an obvious thing to go after your gut parasite, which you've done already multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we never treated for the parasite. At least that's what the doctor told me.
Let's do a GI panel on you again.
Okay.
let's just make sure. It'll be like, this whole time you're playing with the brain and it was still the gut. Let's make sure you don't have an infection. Because if you didn't actually eradicate your infection, that could be a factor.
That was like some special laboratory. I don't know, and it was kind of confusing what it said.
Yeah, but I will tell you, like, parasite infection doesn't cause the symptom presentation you have.
Okay.
Like, so as much as you have it.
Gotcha.
You know? I mean, it causes bloating, diarrhea, some symptoms. Most people say asymptomatic. But I don't know. Let's check it anyways. Let's just check. Which lab did you use before? Wasn't the Diagnostic Solutions?
It was someone out of Colorado, like an individual guy or something. It should be in there. It'd be more recently, towards the top. Not that one.
Is it that?
That's the questionnaire forms. So this is the one I saw. Diagnostic Solutions.
Yeah, there's that one, but there was one. No, it was a smaller laboratory out of.
Are you sure? I don't think I have it in here.
Yeah, I know it was. It was maybe only one page, so maybe we
it
missed
is?
it. Yeah.
Okay, let's.
But it should be. Oh yeah, I'd probably recognize it if you want to zoom out.
Let's see if you can find it. I know that getting the case review documents is a pain in the butt, but this is where it shines.
Oh yeah.
When you see like everything you need organized, you can go through and find it. I think you just passed it.
This way?
I think you went up, maybe?
Up. Keep going.
That was just
Was
Quest.
that it? Oh, that was in it?
No, it's just
Okay.
Quest.
Which ways does it get more recent? Below? Is that it?
No, it's IBS. That's weird. It definitely attached
I
it.
told you. It's not in here.
What the heck? Oh, there it is.
Oh,
It's towards the
weird.
bottom.
Oh, that. Oh, okay.
From Para-Wellness Research.
No, what about parasites? See, it's blastocysts.
But it says something like,
Oh.
Well,
I don't know.
let's. The problem with testing for parasites and bugs is one. It's the reproducibility rate is not perfect, right? Two, it even varies from lab to lab, and sometimes one lab will find it, sometimes another lab won't find it.
Yeah.
And blastocyst is not easy to treat.
Right, that's what the person said. They tried something, but I had a reaction.
I mean, it really is hard to treat.
Yeah.
If you really actually have it and we confirm it, it's reproducible, you can treat it. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be able to treat it if you have circulating catecholamines that suppress your gut function and microbiome and all that all the time.
Right, okay.
But let's retest it anyways. So one option is we can try to order the same lab test. So this was August 2020, they found blastocystis hominis. Or we can, so at what point we got to stick to a lab to use? For the same lab before and after. If you want to use them?
I don't, whatever you want to do.
I don't have a preference.
I mean, if you don't even want to get the test right now, it's fine too.
Did you test positive for some other lab too?
It was a different thing.
Yeah, it
through
was just
diagnostic. It was Diamantibus fragilis.
Yeah,
That
you
one.
have jealous.
Is that a parasite too, or is that something else?
It's an amoeba, yeah, it's a parasite. Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking of amoeba histolytica. That's not what you're referring to.
No, it was definitely the fragilis thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. It's just this.
There it is, right there.
Yep, there it is. That's okay. See, they check blastocystis and they don't show up.
Oh, really?
This is we would love to assume like labs are always precise and perfect.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
As a clinician, you're going, I just want accurate, reproducible results.
Yeah.
And
would something like that change, or once you have it, you kind of have it?
you can get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you scenarios we're working with blastocystis, which is much a little bit harder to treat. There's people who respond to it quickly and get rid of it. You don't know why. But like amoeba fragile, it's not hard to treat.
Okay.
But blastocystis, you go triple drug therapy. You almost have to totally destroy the gut microbiome to get rid of it.
Oh wow.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you have to get the gut and the immune system healthy to get rid of it sometimes. So there's times where we try to do it naturally, doesn't work. There's times we then try to do with prescription medications, doesn't work. Then we try to do both, doesn't work. Other times it just kind of doesn't show up anymore. Person's immune system gets healthy.
Yeah.
Haven't done anything, and we keep retesting, doesn't show up anymore.
Interesting.
And it's very confusing.
Yeah.
From a like clinical point of view, that's actually accepting the fact that these labs aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you shouldn't show up with these bugs if you had it, you know. Well, one way or the other, let's get you out of the limbic state first.
Okay.
And once you're out of the limbic state, that'll change your circulating epinephrine, norepinephrine, and we'll see what kind of relationship it has with your gut function.
Okay.
And even if we do have to treat the parasite bug then, you'll be in a healthier physiological state to do that.
Okay.
But we don't want to ignore the fact you do have parasites showing up on your lab test. And the reason I'm like if I didn't know anything about your case history and just saw those sticking up with your GI symptoms, it would be the obvious place to go.
Yeah.
The reason we're not as jumping towards it as much now is because you've done so many of the things that would get rid of that.
Right.
Yeah. And you still have persistent symptoms, and you have this brain variable in there that could be a factor.
Yeah.
So we'll put that in phase 2. Let's check for parasites and treatment. Like there's certain options. Then see, this is where things are difficult too. I can already see your fatigue. No, but your eyes. Is your brain getting tired?
Probably a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been doing your eye thing at all or no?
Oh yeah, like just like when my eyes get dry and I'm tired and trying to focus, like I'll just go like that.
But I don't think it's just because they're dry. I feel like it's something else.
It's the combination
He
of
does
all.
like this.
If your brain gets tired and your eyes get dry, that's decreased parasympathetic activity. Because tearing is parasympathetic.
Interesting.
So you always get dryness of the eyes before you get tired?
Just every day, really.
I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with the brain fatigue. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely does.
So in your brainstem, there's an area, there's the lateral brainstem, there's they're called the brachial arch derivatives. And cranial nerves 7, 9, and 10 are right atop of each other, and they're linked. And 7 and 9 cause tearing and saliva, and then 10 is digestion. Do you have any changes in saliva? Like a drier mouth?
I don't think so.
Just the dry eyes?
Yeah.
And it's directly related. If you fatigue your brain, your eyes will dry.
Yeah, didn't you say it helps you concentrate to do your eyes?
Yeah, it's like a focus thing, but often I'm trying to focus when I'm tired.
Yeah. So maybe you're already fatigued.
It's all goes hand in hand. Like if I'm stressed or just trying to focus when I'm tired.
I prefer to do an exam on you when your brain's tired.
Okay.
So it's okay. It works to our benefit.
All right, let's keep going.
Let's get you a little more tired. Okay, so phase 2, we'll get into the parasite part of it.
Okay.
A little more detail.
Sure.
The other part is like if you try to do everything all at once, then what happens? Like it gets what's helping, what's not helping. See the mechanisms, you don't see the clear presentation of it.
Right. Yeah.
But if you look at all your chief complaints, I think some of the fatigue issues, overload, brain fog, fatigue, irritability, overwhelm decision, we should be able to handle by trying to get your neuroinflammation, microbial priming down, not having you exceed your metabolic rate, and then we'll have to see what's happening with your digestive symptoms.
Okay.
But once we get your out of this limbic, high epinephrine, norepinephrine night time, we might have a better chance for your gut. And then we'll look at the bugs and parasites there. Okay. Anything else?
Oh yeah, all the allergies. One of the functional people had said that was kind of like the elephant in the room, and I don't know. I just was curious to hear your thoughts on it.
You're already doing low dose antigen therapy, right?
Yes, some of the time.
Is that working?
I haven't noticed any difference. It's been 4 or 5 months, 4 months, 5 months.
At least,
But I definitely just at home here. I always have allergies and it's pretty bad. Just a lot of drainage.
So you have IgE reactions. And IgE reactions are different than like IgG delayed reactions.
Right.
So I think like when someone says the elephant in the room, that's really more related to IgG reactions. Like if your immune tolerance or your gut tolerance not working so well, you can have.
And does it seem like that, or
no? You seem like you're like allergies, like your strawberry anaphylaxis.
Yeah.
Those are like just what you have.
Just normal, just like.
It's not normal. It's just
not.
your uniqueness.
Oh, okay. But outdoor allergies would be the same in that sense. Hay fever and.
Yeah, those are all IgE. Like on
Okay.
your lab test, they're all immunoglobulin E.
Yeah.
So those are the best therapy for that would be the only. See, low dose antigen therapy works like 50% of the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you're on the 50% of the response.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like you are.
I don't know. I mean, they said it could take a year to work, but.
And you did the shots before.
Just
Yeah.
stick the course you're taking
Okay.
for that. And again, if you're circulating epinephrine, norepinephrine levels, your limbic state calms down. Maybe that has an impact on immune function.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go to 10 directions at once.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else besides that? Allergens?
I don't think so. Brain, gut, which
Your estrogen levels are a bit mysterious. You know, usually estrogen levels happen when there's blood sugar spikes, insulin spikes.
Yeah.
They upregulate the enzyme aromatase.
Yeah.
That triggers that.
Yeah.
But
I was reading one time and it mentioned SIBO connected to estrogen.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, there could be like weird things we're not even thinking about. Maybe you have gut metabolites that are there to break down estrogens because the gut microbiome also clears out hormones.
Right.
Maybe
yeah.
you have a population of metabolites, good bacteria that aren't there.
Yeah.
That are
That
playing out
makes
estrogens. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like this is where you start getting the weird world and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think we should hold off on. Let's just see what happens with that.
Okay.
We can recheck anything anytime we want. So also keep me on track too. What will happen? Just to be honest with you, I get so fixated on the goal. The goal right now is to get your inflammation down and get you out of limbic state.
Mm-hmm.
You might have this like concern like, hey, I want to check my estrogens.
Right.
We'll check him. Whatever you
Yeah.
want to do, let me know. We'll
Yeah.
check him and do whatever you want. And like we have to work together, and having you give feedback because you know your body better than anyone.
Yeah.
And a lot of times your suspicions can be very helpful in figuring
Mhm.
out the key part.
Yeah.
My role with you right now is just to kind of connect you with the mechanisms that you may not be thinking about and associations that are there, and have us have some talks that way,
Mm-hmm.
which we're doing with the whole limbic thing.
Yeah.
But don't be shy.
Okay.
Wanting to test things or check things as you suspect them to.
Yeah, the only lingering thing was really the estrogen. That was
Okay.
nothing else really bothers me.
Okay, so we'll put that in phase 2. We check estrogens.
Yeah, because I told you the most recent time after doing the anastrozole, they were normal. So it's,
But you're off everything now.
Yeah.
But so we want to see if they
yeah.
come back.
So I'm curious. Yeah. And my libido changed too, because that was really bad, which is how that plus the weight gain, I was like, oh, something's got to be wrong. And
Yeah.
that's when the estrogen was high.
Okay. We'll check that in phase 1. We'll see how you do with that.
Okay.
Anything else?